been asked a few times now whether the decision of Adobe and Pantone to part ways, whether that's affected how I select colors in Illustrator. And it hasn't really. When I'm creating a brand identity, I still select the colors from the physical Pantone swatches. So I have the swatch books and I select my colors from there. And I still do that the same way. The only thing that's changed now is that I can't just type in the number straight away in Illustrator and get that Pantone swatch. But the thing is there was always a few little glitches in it anyway. The numbers didn't always match. And I'm going to go off Pantone's recommendations if I'm converting something to CMYK. And most of the work I do now is in CMYK. So that's a really important element for me. So I can start with the Pantone swatches, and then I can manually input those numbers into Illustrator or InDesign, and then my brand colors are as I wanted and as I have matched them to from the physical swatches that I started from. Before we jump into Illustrator, I want to go through the Pantone swatches here. So on the left, we've got the solid coated, and on the right, we've got the bridge colors. As you can see, if you zoom in, you can see the mix of the colors, and these are the actual inks that they use to create the spot color. On the right, with the bridge coated, we've got the actual color mixed as a spot Pantone. And then on the right-hand side of that particular swatch, we've then got the CMYK equivalent. So this is what I'm going to be printing. This is more like what we're going to get. And you can see that sort of up here that these colors are maybe a little bit sort of muddier. As we get darker, they're a little bit more accurate, and maybe that's not too bad. This might be more familiar with what you see when you're creating your colors in Illustrator. So these are some old charts that I have from years ago that show this is 100% cyan, this is 100% magenta, and then in between these are all the mixes of what it looks like with 90% of one and 20%, 5% of the other. And then as we come down, we start to add yellow in on here. So these colors now are pretty much the same as this panel. So here it's just magenta and cyan, and then here it's magenta, cyan, and 10% yellow. And then as we move across, we've then got 20% yellow added in. So you can see how the colors change as we add more yellow in. And then up at the top, we have the yellow and magenta and yellow and cyan options as well. So if I was to look at colors in Illustrator and see that mix, I can come to these charts and I can see then for real what I would actually get if I used that color. As I said earlier, that you're always working in RGB when you're looking at it on screen. So you can't take it as gospel that that is the color that you're going to get, because it depends on your monitor, and then you're not going to get an accurate color. So I always like to start from something physical that I can see, that I know that is the mix that I'm going to get. Now these are really hard to get hold of. I had to bribe a printer to get hold of one of those. These are obviously easier to get hold of, but they do cost money. But it's worth having, because I know definitively if I'm picking a color that that is what the printer will produce for me when I send my work to print. So let's take a look in Illustrator how I would mix those colors. I'm in Illustrator now. This is the 2022 version. I've got two files open and I've named them 2022 and 2023, so you can see that, and more importantly I can see that. And the way that you used to select the swatches is you would come up to the hamburger in the swatch library, come down to open swatch library, and then scroll down to color books, and then you can come across here to solid coated, and it will give you a swatch like this. And then I used to go to small list view, and that would then give me my colors by name, and then I can see what those colors are. Now if I type in a color, So I'm going to type in 339. Conveniently, it's right next to where I want to be. I basically just click on there. If I wanted to select another color, and let's say I know I've picked 275, let's say, and then there is that color, I click it and it would add it in. And if I come over to my colors, you can see there I've now got 275, and if I wanted to select that, I scroll past all of the preset colors and I can then just select that color and it fills it. And you can see here I've then got that color selected. Now if I was sending that out to a printer and I wanted to make it CMYK, I basically just double click it, and from color book I then change it to CMYK, and then I change it from spot color to process color. Now you can see that the numbers that it's given me here, and if I jump into my Pantone swatches and scroll through to find 275, then I can see whether that matches what Pantone recommend or not. So I found 275, and actually Pantone's numbers are 100, 100, 7, and then 56. So I would change those colors in Illustrator to match that what Pantone are saying rather than what Adobe are suggesting. When I convert it, I keep this global button pressed because that allows me to create tints of a color. So if I just OK that now, you can see that I've got my color over here. It says it's CMYK, and it still gives me the ability to make tints. Now I'm just going to change the other Pantone color that I selected, and I'm going to, when I do this, I'm not going to change the colors in here, and I'm going to turn off the global so you can see the difference. So you see now with this color, if I was to draw a rectangle and I've got my green, it's very hard to make a tint of this one because these are the colors that it's made up of. Whereas if I select the blue where I kept the global selected, I can make a tint of it. So that's how I used to do it. So if I jump into the 2023 version and I come up to my swatches and I come down to here, I go to libraries and I go to color books. Now it's got the Pantone CMYK plus coated book, but it doesn't give me the spot colors. This is only going to give me the CMYK equivalents, and then it's going to tell me that they may no longer be available due to changes in Pantone's licensing. Oh, okay. Shucks, what do I do about that? Well, we can mix our own. And one of the good things about Illustrator is you can make your own colors. So I'm going to delete that color. I'm going to make a new swatch, and I'm going to mix 275 again. I'll look at my numbers. They were 100, 107 and 56. So I just slide up, make that 100, make that 100, make that 7, make that 56. And if I want to, I can now call that Pantone 275. I'm still going to get the warning, but the thing is I've specified this color now that my printer is going to understand that if he's got a big block of this color and they're trying to match it, that they can use their swatches to match my color. I'm just going to click OK. I've now got 275. I can draw a big rectangle that's in that color and that color. And if I take this back up to 100%, and then come back to the 2023 version, those two colors are exactly the same. So that's how I'm going to get around the issue of Adobe not allowing you to select from the Pantone color book. I use my own Pantone color book, I create my own Pantone color, and I've got a perfect match to the printed color book.